Welcome, Ashley, and you are live.
Welcome, everybody. So today we're going to be looking at EdPuzzle, and I'm super excited about this one because it occurred to me recently that of all the tools that I use, I probably use this one more than any of them. And yet we have not seen a Tech Intel on this in several years. In fact, I don't think we've seen one on it since Tech Intel started, to be perfectly honest, because I first learned about it from Dr. Glenda Rose and Deb Hargrove when they presented on it, and I'm pretty sure that was one of the very first ones. So today we are going to understand the EdPuzzle platform, utilizing EdPuzzle in adult education, and identify key features and how to get started with EdPuzzle. So today we're really focused on just the getting started part of it and understanding what it is. And next week, we'll get into more of a how-to and more details on it. So before we get started, I'm just going to ask about 3 questions. Current questions. So do you use videos in your classroom? So some of you might not use them in your classroom because you're not in a role, but maybe you've used them in trainings or with staff or anything like that. And it looks like we're mostly getting yeses. I figured we would. I think I've ever met a teacher who doesn't use video in their classroom. Yes, and videos are always awesome because they're visual and they're engaging. They definitely add to any lesson. Our second question is, what challenges do you have or have you seen when using videos during instruction?
Lots of different things. Okay, so Katie Snow in our office says, she's an adjunct professor with Texas A&M, and she's also works with the tech integration, and she uses EdPuzzle. She used them in K through 12. Elizabeth says so they don't fall asleep, and Richard says he doesn't know yet because he's going to learn.
Okay.
And then yes, and Mark says it's easy to get disconnected if they don't stay interactive.
So, yeah, so that's really the challenge I've seen when I just show just a simple YouTube video is they don't retain the information, or they're not paying attention, or they're on their phone, or, of course, we're always going to have that, there's always the chance that you're going to have a connection issue. That's part of working with technology. But really, the whole problem with videos is that we don't have them fully engaged and they're not completely interactive with the content. So last question is, I know a couple of you may be familiar with it or have at least dabbled with it, but how familiar are you with EdPuzzle or other interactive video platforms?
Elizabeth says somewhat. Mark says very. And then we also had an interesting comment from Gareth, who's joined us, and Gareth said they are watching Sal on, Khan Academy. They're not really applying it because he's doing all the work, basically.
Yes, and I'm so glad that he brought that up because that's going to be my example today of how I used it just this week and how it saved my lesson. All right, so it sounds like most people are at least a little bit familiar with it, which is great. Like I said, and I've used it for years, and I use it for every single lesson I do. And I don't even realize I use it. So that's why I realized, and then I learned this week, that's kind of the nice thing about doing these Tech Intels is even though I use something all the time, when I do these, I tend to learn all these things that I didn't know you could do now because like all technology, they're constantly making new changes. And they made one I'm really excited about just this week. So, and I got to use it the other night. So I'll be sharing that in just so as we're going through the presentation today, just kind of keep in the back of your mind, how does EdPuzzle help adult learners with comprehension and engagement during a video lesson? So to begin, what is EdPuzzle? So EdPuzzle is a video platform that improves learning through interactive video lessons. It boosts learner engagement and it saves teachers time. It also collects data as learners watch and engage with video content, and it allows educators to reuse other teachers' video lessons from its video collection. It's the perfect tool for engaging adult learners in video content, for enhancing videos to be watched independently, together, in class, or out of class at any time from anywhere. It's also the perfect tool for taking your own videos or taking videos from YouTube, Khan Academy, LearnZillion, Crash Course, and manipulating the portion that you need to meet the needs of your participants. So we're going to take a look at, first, we're going to take a look at the process to give you just kind of an overview. So the EdPuzzle process, for the teacher, it is basically you choose a video that you like. So you can choose from a library that they already have of EdPuzzle videos already made. You can decide if you like it. You can decide if you like the elements that are already on there. Or you can add your own assessment elements to the video. And by assessment elements, I'm talking about you can add voice if you want to. So add questions. Different things like this. And then after you add the assessment and elements to the videos, you can track the participant comprehension. There's a lot of different ways to be using EdPuzzle now, which is pretty awesome. So this is the latest thing that they just started, and this is, I think it was Catherine mentioned Zaption. This reminds me of how Zaption used to be. You can now take EdPuzzle and do what is called Go Live. And what happens is the instructor plays the EdPuzzle lesson on the overhead, and it's called in live mode. And then the students can log in from their own devices and answer independently. So as we're watching the video, it'll stop at a question, and this gives the students an opportunity to answer from their own devices. The teacher can then assess for understanding both during and after the lesson. So I'm actually able to see who's getting it right or what the class average is, both during the process and after the lesson. So it's pretty cool because I did it for the first time the other night, and I have to say I'm really happy with this feature because it was perfect for my math lesson that had gone terribly bad the previous Monday when I was trying to do the lesson. So this really, really helped me. And so I kind of want to just kind of talk about that for a second, especially since Gareth brought up Khan Academy. So I had a horrible night on Monday. I wasn't prepared, I'm not going to lie, and it was just teacher fail night. And it was a math lesson, and I didn't prep myself well enough. And as a non-comfortable math teacher, I have to be prepared. So I had to fix it on Wednesday. So what I ended up doing was taking a Khan Academy video and making my own EdPuzzle. And that single-handedly helped me to learn the material better. And then once I showed it and we all went through the lesson together, the students felt a lot better. I had them stressed out on Monday, but by Wednesday they were confident. So the EdPuzzle process. So you can assign to classes. So you can create classes if you want to. You do not have to. The classes do go well with Google Classroom if you're a Google Classroom user. But basically, video lessons are completed at their own pace from their own device. Every student is accountable, and the teacher can assess for understanding during and after the lesson. So this is just another way you can use it. You can have them work on these individually on their own if you want to, if you want them sitting at their own devices with headsets. They can watch them on their own and answer the questions. So this kind of gives an opportunity for differentiation. So if people are working at different paces, they can have the option of watching this. The other nice thing about doing this is whenever you provide them with the link, they can always go back and watch it again if they need to review the information. The way I've used it in the past, especially if I'm just kind of making a generic lesson of some sort and I want to share it with other educators, is you can also just get a public link. Nobody needs you don't have to have a login or an account for that. Just share a link with other people and they can actually see the video lesson. You will not see, however, how they do or who's done it, but there's just kind of an opportunity to share the EdPuzzle with other people. So you can work at your own pace from any device, and basically anyone with the link can participate with no login required. And then this is brand new, at least it's brand new to me. I think it's new. They also now have what's called an open class. So you can use for practice only. So if you just don't, you're not worried about the assessment part of it, you just want your students to practice on something, you can use this. The students don't have to have a login, they don't have to be a part of the class, they can just simply go, you can just share a code with them. So when they go to EdPuzzle, they enter the code and then they can do the practice from there. And of course, we all, or quite a few of us anyhow, in adult education do have from time to time the issue with lacking student devices. If that happens, Teachers and students can go through lessons together on the overhead. This is what I used to do quite a bit. I used to have them, before they started this live option, I would usually have them work independently on it, but we'd always go through it together as a class as well. So we just put it on the overhead. We discuss, we have discussions, we answer questions, and of course, point out the important points out along the way. Or if it's like I did with the math lesson, might be that we write some things on the board while we're going through it to kind of model further, basically a teaching moment. And students can easily use mobile devices to complete the lesson. There is actually an EdPuzzle app available on mobile devices that they can access, or they can simply go to the web browser.
And I just wanted to ask you, and you've probably done this or you're thinking about this, having the students create their own video lessons once they get familiar with EdPuzzle as a way for option, for assessment.
I've actually done that before. When I was using Zaption, though. I mean, so it's the same idea. It was just a different tool. It was a fancier tool, is what it was. But I did that with that, and I had them create their own lessons and find like science videos and stuff like that. It was a really interesting experience. It was a good experience because you really saw them using their critical thinking skills. Because they had to come up with questions and they had to figure out the technology, and there's different things you can do with it, like you can crop videos and stuff like that. So I actually think that would be a great part of like maybe project-based learning or something like that. So that's definitely something I would like to explore further in the future.
Okay. Mark asked, you stated that EdPuzzle gathers assessment and evaluatory data for student responses. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's like at the end, after the lesson, kind of like when we were looking at flickers last week and several other things we look at, you can go back in and you can see an assessment at the end to see what their understanding is. So basically, it is an opportunity to collect data. I usually don't use it that way, but I know a lot of teachers, especially K through 12 teachers, definitely use it for assessment. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at EdPuzzle. Sounds pretty good so far, but what does it look like? So if you've never seen EdPuzzle, this is what I'm clicking on right now, is a link, a shared link that basically I created and I could share with whoever I wanted to, really, just to kind of see what it's like as a student if I were to assign an EdPuzzle. So you see, I went to it, I click on play. Now before I continue, let me point this out. You're not going to be able to hear it, but you don't need to hear it because I'm going to put the closed captioning on it. It's not about hearing it. It's more about just seeing the features that it offers. So it's a very short video. It's only like a minute long, but I'm just going to kind of walk you through it and show you what you can do along the way. So the first thing I'm going to point out, and you might want to point this out to your students as well, is you can do closed captioning, which for some students, they may need that extra feature. And over here, of course, is where you mute it, but beyond that, they just play it. We're going to go. And some of them, I noticed this on different parts yesterday. There are some EdPuzzles that do offer different languages as well. This one does not. So immediately, you see that I can't be going off in La La Land and not paying attention because immediately it's going to ask me a question. And in this case, this is a question. So you can add videos from what sources. So this one would be all of the above. They have a lot of variations of different types of questions you can add. You can add checkboxes, you can add multiple choice, you can add more than one question in a section. So there's a lot of different things you can do with that. And then if you don't know the answer, you can always go back and rewatch it. In this situation, because it's a public link, I have the option to skip the question. But if it was assigned to my students, I can put it on there where they're not allowed to skip the question. So then they tell us one cool feature of EdPuzzle is being able to trim the video. You don't have to use the entire thing. So this comes in handy also. So you can actually crop the video. They're not as advanced on this as I want them to be yet, but my understanding is it's in the works. Right now you can crop either the beginning or the end or both to shorten it up. Sometimes there's extra stuff on a video that you just don't need. So you can shorten up, which is pretty helpful. What you cannot do is you cannot crop like certain sections of it at this time anyhow. But from what my understanding is, that's in the works to come. So then we say true, and of course, it tells me if I got it right or wrong, and then I continue. So EdPuzzle even lets you record your own voice. This might be helpful, especially if you wanted to share just with somebody who wasn't in the classroom. Maybe you want to give like a distance learning student some extra help on math or anything else. Like I think I shared one time a calculator video, how to use the GED calculator. But if you want to add a little personalization to it, you can always add your voice to give them extra direction. Let's say questions can be added throughout your videos, just like these. Yes, that's true.
So Ashley, can we pause for a minute? Let's pause, because we got two questions that came in that I think would be good if we tried to answer them right now. So Gareth says, can you combine a cropped video with another cropped video? That's the first question.
No, not at this time.
Okay.
He's thinking of that old tool that they used to have. Not at this time. You can't do it yet. But hopefully that will be in the future for free.
Okay. And Elizabeth asked, where is that GED calculator video? I really want a good one for the first week of September. Not sure.
I can share that with you if you send me an email.
Okay. So then Mark asks a very good question. When it comes to videos owned by various organizations, what is the intellectual property concerns legally? And one thing, can I jump in, Ashley, really quick? One thing, Mark, you asked a really good question, and that is if you look on YouTube, and then Ashley, I'll let you also jump in. If you look on YouTube, you have to sometimes really look carefully, but it's going to tell you if the video is even copyrighted to use. And then it may also have what's called a Creative Commons license, how you can use it. So, Ashley, does EdPuzzle give any guidance on that?
So with EdPuzzle, we're just going to go ahead and look at it. So this is EdPuzzle. And what you're going to notice is over here on the left side, they have partnerships with all of these. So when you're talking about video, you can't just take something. They have partnerships with YouTube, Khan Academy, National Geographic, TED Talks. I don't know what some of these even are. Like, I never saw this one ever. Numberphile, never heard of it. Veritasium, I'd never heard of that. Crash Course, I think most of us know. So they already have partnerships with them. So as far as legality goes, I do not know that to be an issue, and this probably isn't an area I'm an expert at, so I'm not going to pretend to be. But that has not been an issue. I do know that you can upload your own videos. I've never done it before because I don't make a lot of my own videos as well. But as far as the legalities go with it, I don't think it's an issue. And if it is something like I'm thinking like on the lines of like maybe it's a Disney something. Maybe they have it, and I think there's restrictions. I don't think it will allow you to do it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And
like it's not going to let it happen.
Yeah, and Mark, one thing to remember too is what I would do. Is there a way, Ashley, when you edit questions, is there somewhere where you can write a note on there that says in partnership with this organization? So that's what I would do, Mark, is I would add a little note or a little citation when you create the video in partnership with TED Talks or Khan Academy or National Geographic, just to acknowledge.
So I already kind of started to do this, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at the website itself a little bit more. I've already kind of showed it to you just based on the questions. But basically, when you log in, this is the website you're going to see. All right, on the left side, you're going to see content. The home. Basically, all this is showing me here is it's just showing me that people I'm linked to different people. The other day when I was in here, I could see a coworker, Claire. I could see the ones she did because we're linked to the same organization. They can also show you things that are trending. Obviously, you're going to see a lot of things for kids on here, but also a lot of things that we can use as well. So this is showing you different things. On curriculum, they have different content. I've never used these before. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't, but I haven't at this point. I've not seen a need for it, but you might find something on there that you want to use. And then Literacy Council of Tyler is telling me there's 4 teachers who use it at Literacy Council of Tyler. And then my content is basically the stuff that I've created. And then down here, it's like I said, these are the popular channels. So when I'm creating an EdPuzzle though, or I'm even thinking about it, I always go to EdPuzzle first because I don't see that I need to reinvent the wheel if somebody's already done it for me. So if I see something, I have something in mind, let's just say this seems to be my topic of the week. Say I want to do something on slope. So I simply type it in and then I can see what other people have already done. So as I'm going through this though, there's things I'm looking for in particular. One thing is I don't want a really long video. I like to keep the videos probably within 5 minutes. You know, that's just my preference. I like to keep them engaged and interested. It would depend on the content. But I might just look at, you know, how long is it is my first thing. The next thing is I'm going to click on it. I might not like it. Who knows? So I'm just going to click on this one. And this is showing me right now that she's already put some interactions in there. I don't know if I'm going to like those interactions or not. So, of course, I would try it out. But if that's what these represent right here. And you can see that it's kind of like what you were saying, Anne-Marie, you're asking about notes. Well, she's added a note. These are all important to have written down. I will be looking at these in your notes. So she's obviously talking directly to her class. So I would probably want to change that. I would take that off. And then from there, I can also edit it. If I decide, okay, I like it, but I don't like her notes or I don't like her questions, I can just go, okay, well, she's got this note here. I don't want this, so I'm going to delete it. And now it's gone. Here you can see each of these are her questions that she's already made. Here you can see this is where I could crop it. So if I don't want the first part, I can just crop it off of there. If I click on voiceover, this is where I could record my voice. I would click on the microphone, record my voice. I think I'm recording it right now. But then I can also add quizzes. Here, I click on the question mark, and you can see these are the different types of quizzes I can do. So I can do open-ended, you can add images, you could add links to it, you can add math to it. You can do multiple choice, which with multiple choice, I think, you can do a multiple selection as well. So you add your answers to it, and then over here, I can just add a comment if I want to. And sometimes I will separate something out and add like a couple of questions just by clicking this plus sign here. I'm able to do that, and then you save it when you're done. And so then if I'm finished with it, I click on finish, and if I want to prevent skipping, I can, and then I can assign it to a class. This account I'm in right now, I don't have a class on there, so I need to log in.
Gareth said a while ago, he said, so you can kind of make your own versions of your schoolyourself.org tutorial videos where if they need to hear you say it, they can, but if they get it from the original video, they can just move on.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because what happened with me at the beginning of the week, this time it didn't work for me. It confused me. I didn't like the School Yourself videos on Slope. So that's why I got a little frustrated. So that's why I could come over here and I made my own, and then I understood it. Because sometimes that Khan Academy guide does a better job of explaining it than the School Yourself guide. Of course, it all just depends on you as a teacher, obviously. But yeah, that's where the advantage comes. So you can basically make your own interactive videos. And I find interactive videos to be so helpful, especially with math lessons.
And we do, if those of you that may not be familiar with schoolyourself.org, we do have a Tech and Tell on that as well. That was done last year. So we have another question I'm asking a question, and I wondered, and I just more of a clarification, and it says, so you can add notes for students as well as questions. So as they move through the video, because I'm thinking about some of the reading websites where you can add notes for the students as they read. Okay. So you can do a combination of questions, but you could also add a note, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And sometimes you just want to stop a video, because you want to point something out, or maybe point something out that maybe it's visual. So it gives you that opportunity to do that. So you can definitely add notes.
All right, two more questions very quickly. Risa, I had the same question. Can you insert images as well as questions and comments?
Yes, actually, let me just kind of show you now that I'm in my own account. I have a lot more stuff on this account because this is the one I used. I was messing around with that other one. So if I click on edit, so this is one of our elements here. Sorry, you're going to click on edit. When you go to edit right here, you can add an image. So you can either upload your own, or if you have the link to the image, you can add it there. But you can also, if you just want to say, hey, for more information or something, you could also add a link to a website as well.
That's wonderful. Okay, these are great questions. You guys are all on it. Richard asks, can students be quizzed in any subject content? EdPuzzle gives a score and a percentage at the end. Do they give a percentage and an end with this?
As long as you have questions that can be answered automatically. So it's going to grade them as long as they're like multiple choice or, but if you have an open-ended question, then you're going to have to go in and grade it yourself. And then they will be given a score. But for the ones that have open-ended questions, you have to make sure you go in and grade it. Otherwise, they don't get a score.
Okay. And then Richard asked the question, are the changes to a video that you selected a permanent change to the video that you selected?
That's a good question. So it's your own video. So the second that you select it, it becomes yours. So they are permanent changes, but it's a different version of the original. So if you go back into the library afterwards, your version will be in there, but the original version is still there as well.
And then, oh, great question. Katie's got a great question. If you share this with your students, do they need to log in so you can read their responses individually?
Yes. So, yeah, a couple of things on that. So you can create classes, which is really recommended, especially if you're teaching. You can create classes, and it's very easy to do if you use Google Classroom because you can just import it, and it takes 2 seconds. But you can also, it's not that hard the other way either because you just share a link with the students, and they click on the link and join the class. So it is important to have them have classes if you're going to track their progress. So if I just were to share like a public link like I did earlier, then I can't see what they're doing. But in order for me to see what they're doing, then that's where they do need to have an account and be in a class.
Okay. All right. So 2 more questions. My goodness, this is wonderful. Catherine says, can we see a demo? And I think we're going to. And then Risa asks, which would also be a question of mine, Risa, are videos you create automatically shared to the library, or is that a choice you make? Which leads me to a second question. There's got to be a settings. And can you go in and restrict what you're sharing, when you're sharing, and how you're sharing?
Okay, can we start over? What was the first part of that question?
The question is, are the videos you create automatically shared to the library, or is it a choice you make? And that leads into a settings question. Is there a settings where you can go in and decide who you're sharing these videos with?
So they're automatically shared to the library. Like you see on here, you see there's Claire. Claire's a teacher who works with us. And I see hers because we're connected to the same school. But they are automatically, and I have not seen where you're given an option. So I'm going to say no, but if I find out differently, I'll let you know. But as far as I know, I've never seen the option to share or not to share in the library. I've never seen it done privately, if that's what you're asking. I do not think that's an option.
Okay, so the library is the entire EdPuzzle library that is accessed by everyone.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Can you delete your video from the library if you decide not to keep it?
Yes, you can. So like this one that I just made literally 2 seconds ago, at least I think you can. I said that very confidently. I think if you go to edit, I know that you can delete them, but while I'm talking about that, so that I don't forget to say, so on the free version of EdPuzzle, you get to keep 20, you have room for 20 videos to store. So if you end up having more than 20 videos, which I actually just asked them about this yesterday. So if you end up having more than 20 videos or a need for more than 20 videos, there's a few workarounds with that. You can, if you get somebody else to join EdPuzzle, they'll give you free ones. They'll give you additional space. Or you might not need to keep those forever is what I'm thinking, because you can always go back and find them. And you can delete them to make more room. Thank you, Gareth. That is under the content. All right, so I'm just going to walk you through what my process would be if I was making one. So I'm going to sign out. So when you sign in, you have two options. You can be a student and you can be a teacher. So you could participate in somebody else's, which I've done that as well. But I'm going to log in as a teacher. I always log in with Google because it's faster. And then here we are. We're just a second ago. And so from there, if I'm trying to decide, okay, I'm doing a lesson, well, somebody shoot a topic out at me and give me some ideas what I should go look for. This is always just me. My first step is to go to EdPuzzle first to see if I can find anything I like. So immediately I see a whole bunch of them that have already been made. So I'm going to look through and I'm going to choose one. I don't really want to do a 7-minute one. So I'm just going to kind of look at, so the first thing that I notice is some of these, they don't have any additional elements. So she might have just created this one because she wanted to cut the beginning and end. So I'm probably not going to pick that one because I want one that has questions on it already. So I might look for another one. This one I can see, these little teardrop looking things indicate to me that it does. So then I'm going to go ahead, I click on it, and of course I watch it, and I take a look at her questions to see what she has to say. Hey, does this work? Because sometimes you have to be careful because they'll be talking like they're kids. So you have to be real careful of that, or is this going to be okay for adults? And I decide if I want to go ahead and use it or if I don't, or I can skip it. If I decide I like it, I can edit it, I can copy it, and then if I copy it, it's going to go just, because maybe I'm not prepared to do anything with it yet, so if I copy it, it'll go immediately to my content. Or if I just like the way it is right now and I'm good with it, I can simply click on Assign, and I can assign it. So here are my classes right here, so I might assign it to, I'm not really going to assign it to them. I'm going to assign it to my example class over here. And I just click on Assign. You notice you can also turn on the closed captioning. And I also have where Prevent Skipping is set up as well so that they can't do that. But if I don't want to assign it to a class and I'm just going to kind of share it with other teachers maybe, I can always go to Public Links and simply copy it, and then I can just share it with other people. Yes, I can show how to assign it to a class. So if I'm going to assign it to a class, I'm going to go ahead and assign it to my GED class. I just simply click on the class. You'll see right here, this is indicating I'm connected to Google Classroom. So it goes directly to Google Classroom once I assign it. You can create a due date if you want to. And then here again, I can either prevent skipping, turn on closed captioning option, and if I want to post it to Google Classroom, in this case I would. I'm going to take it off because I don't really want to, because otherwise I'm going to confuse my students. And then simply click Assign, and it's done. So now it's assigned. So then I can go to my classes, and I can see what is in progress over here. And like you can see that we did the split formula. This is what we did the other day. There's 3 I haven't answered because I'm a slacker. And so I would go in and I can answer, I can see, and I can what her answers are, and I can comment on them. And then of course I can give them a grade. Did that answer your question, Katie?
And then she has another question. What link info do you send to your students so they know to complete?
Okay. So it depends on how you're sending them. So it kind of depends on your platform. So you can send them, you can do different things. Let me get in here. All right. So if I go to, once I've assigned it, so Katie, I don't know what you're using. So for instance, if you use Google Classroom, it goes directly to Google Classroom and it's automatically there as an assignment. But you can also, they need to go to EdPuzzle to answer her question because I don't think she's going to have Google Classroom. So if she doesn't have Google Classroom, where the students are going to go is they're going to go to EdPuzzle and they're going to sign in and they're going to join your class. They join your class with a class code. Does that make sense? And of course, I'm happy to help if you have any problems. But yeah, that's usually all they have to do. So it's not too difficult. They'll even, when you create the class itself, they will supply you with a direct link. So you can either just send it, if you have a learning management system, which it sounds like you do, you can just share the link with them. They can click on the link and they will immediately sign in, create an account, and they will be in your class. Otherwise, they can go to EdPuzzle and enter the link.
So Ashley, here's a question. My students have very limited English. Does EdPuzzle have picture-based videos? And also, is there that closed caption or different languages option?
Absolutely, for the ESL question, for the first part of that question. In fact, that's how Glenda Rose uses it all the time. She uses it for her ESL class. It's just about finding the right video, basically. And what I've seen about the closed caption, because I honestly have never used closed caption until yesterday. When I was messing around with some of these channels, like I had never seen these channels before. So and these are interesting. I don't know if anybody else has ever heard of this one, Veritasium. I think this was the one that I looked at, and they had different languages on there. I have not seen that with all of them, though. See, this is the one. It has Arabic, like Chinese, like they have all these different languages. So to answer the question, I don't think that all of them have that option, but I think that some of them do. But as far as ESL goes, when I saw Glenda do one, she had one, and it was just like something. I remember there being like a puppy was involved, and basically they'd watch part of the video, and then she'd ask a question right after that first part and say, what is the name, or something like that, labeling the different ideas. So it's definitely fantastic for ESL, in my opinion. Plus, it's so very visual. And I think he asked about soft skills, too.
Yes, he did. And I wanted to get clarification on that, Richard. When you mean hard skills, you mean the academic skills, correct? Let's start there. The academic skills, right, is what you mean? Okay. So then the soft skills, you're talking about the employability skills that the employers need. Is that correct? All right. So, Ashley, I'll let you take it from there.
Okay. I think there's different ways to answer this, so I'm not sure I'm going to answer this correctly. But I will say, and this might not be answering what he's saying, anytime you're using technology, you're developing soft skills, is one thing I'm going to say. Now, I'm not going to say that an employer is looking for them to know how to use EdPuzzle, but they are looking for them to know how to use devices and keyboards and things like that. That's on the one hand. But where I've used it for soft skills training specifically is I've done it with hiring practices. We've done, different communication lessons, because there's so many thousands of millions of videos out there that are made on all these different things. But now we have an opportunity to interact, to have the students interact and pause and even maybe practice. Maybe they learn about certain hiring or interviewing skills, and they can stop and practice, sit with each other and maybe practice doing them on their own, something like that.
And Ashley, I'm going to jump in too with Richard's, because I have a question that may also help Richard. When you're looking at the expansive library, is there any way to know how many videos are in there, or can you select them by category? So do you have an option to filter by category, which, Richard, you may be able to find what you're looking for? Or filter by subject. There you go.
There you go.
See, I would look
don't know
there.
About the number, though.
I would look there to try to find what you're looking for. You're going to have to, you're going to have to look and see. And then I want to answer Mark's question as far as a translator. Do you mean a translator from a different language or for a disability issue, Mark? He asked, can a translator be imported to EdPuzzle and interfaced with closed captioning? Well, I'm going to take this one, and I think I'm just going to make a global comment and say, remember, this is a free tool. So if you can find another app that maybe interfaces with EdPuzzle to translate, I would say try, Mark. As far as translating for disability issues, that is something, if a student is in your classroom and is watching the videos and needs help, I'll be happy to answer that question offline, because that's a little bit more complicated. Let's see. I can see using the distance learning can be assigned for homework to support this lesson taught that day. Okay, Richard, I'm going to jump in again. As far as distance learning policy goes, you can assign this as homework, but you can't count it for proxy hours. So this can be assigned as homework, but it's not an approved curriculum for distance learning. Does that make sense?
No, but it's a great supplement. I think that's what he was saying. But
Okay,
yeah,
good.
because I use it as a supplement for my own students when they're like, I'm not getting this, or they want extra help with something. I'll just go ahead and I'll send them an EdPuzzle link to kind of help them. But yeah, it's definitely great for additional, or even the idea if you want them to maybe get some knowledge on something before the next class, you can send them, say, hey, go to the EdPuzzle video and watch it before class just to give them some, basically pre-work before the class. And we will be following it up next week with a part 2. And the reason we did this is because I had a feeling that's how it was going to go, that we weren't even going to get through. I mean, we got through the parts that I really wanted to. I do ask that, especially if you participate next week, is go to the community of practice. We have put together a getting started implementation guide. And if nothing else, make an account, create an account, make a class maybe, and just go explore. There's a lot of stuff on there, and it literally takes 2 seconds to make an EdPuzzle video. I think that's why I use it so often. It takes 2 seconds. I think it's important. I think it's important to my students for their learning, and it just seems to help them and me as well. Okay, this is just getting started implementation guide. Basically, just going to walk you through step by step, adding classes, creating accounts. At the bottom, I have referred you to some tutorials that EdPuzzle has put together for you, that in case you need additional help. So they pretty much have all the answers right there for you. So if nothing else, if you can just get started, maybe try it out, or even try it out in the class just to see how it goes. And I thank you guys so much for coming and joining me and letting me share. And hopefully we can do a part 2 and you can share your experiences with me next week.
Thank you so much, Ashley. As a reminder, as Ashley said, if you haven't registered already, please join us next Friday, August 30th, for EdPuzzle Part 2, because I think, as Ashley said, now Ashley will be getting really into the implementation part and the nitty-gritty. So I think it's really important to go to both so that you have a better idea of how to use it. This implementation guide will be available in the Tech and Tel Community of Practice in the PD portal in a special folder. So look for that by no later than Monday. Thank you, Ashley. This was wonderful. I learned so much.
Thank you. Bye, guys.